Hello, welcome to our security session, Embracing Complexity, How SPS Commerce Uses Security Insights. I'm talking today with Nick Kemsky with SPS Commerce, based out of Minnesota, and he's their head of security operations and incident response. Nick, thank you so much for speaking here at Illuminate.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This is great.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time with us today, so I'm going to jump right in. Who is SPS Commerce, and what do you folks do there?
Yeah, well, SPS Commerce might not be a household name, but we're one of the greatest companies maybe you never heard of. But we are a leading EDI provider. EDI is electronic data interchange, right? Again, not a super common household name, but really it's not that fancy. The it's shipping data between companies, right? Order information in particular, right? Between manufacturers, suppliers, retailers. And we're a full service software as a solution EDI provider. We work with a massive number of customers, over 70,000. And we have offices across the globe. We have global footprint, mainly in the US, but also in Canada and Australia and Europe. And you can think of our product as the software coupled with services that really help our customers meet their business needs, right? For things like order fulfillment or retail analytics. If you've heard the term omni-channel, that's what we're all about.
Okay. Well, can you describe what your security team or your SOC looks like? For example, how many analysts do you have? And do you work with managed service providers as a force multiplier?
Yeah. So I manage our SOC, or Security Operations Center, and our incident response team. And we use what we call a hybrid model. So some of us are dedicated SPS employees. We have some that are contractors through managed service provider to help with 24/7, right, around the globe coverage for alerts. Like I said, we're a global company, so um, all times of the day we could be called to respond. And we're responsible through that team, which is probably around half a dozen, 10 people, to protect everything that we do at SPS. Our product, the services that we offer, our internal systems, the corporate applications, our employee data, our customer data, the whole 9 yards, right?
And obviously your team is on the hook to secure all that at all times. Now you
Yeah,
mentioned,
no pressure.
yeah, exactly. Now you mentioned your services are purely SaaS delivered. So am I right in presuming that you're building those critical apps and services in a bunch of different clouds, and maybe you probably have some on-prem environments that are still out there and need to be secured?
Yeah, that's right. And I don't know that that's real uncommon in this day and age to be multi-cloud, right? And maybe that's AWS and Azure and Oracle, and maybe even you could consider Salesforce a cloud. But um, we have traditional data centers as well. So there's a real wide variety, right? A broad landscape of environments and infrastructure that my team is responsible for protecting from security threats. But we also have operational risks that we have to consider across those cloud and what I like to refer to as our terrestrial environment as well. And yeah, it's really I love security. It's awesome to be such in a field that's such a critical component to the business and keeping things running and running smoothly. Um, right, because if we can't do that, like I said, we're all about processing data. We take all that, or massive amounts of data, from those suppliers and manufacturers and 3PLs, and get them to retailers. And if we're not up and available, if we're not protecting SPS Commerce from threats to our availability, then those orders don't flow. And when that doesn't happen, product doesn't get to stores, and nobody nobody wants to deal with that,
No,
especially after.
and I bet there becomes a probably some seasonality to that too as well. That has some times where you guys and I'm sure the team are doing long nights, long days, long
Yeah,
weekends, and yeah.
yeah, for sure. We're actually approaching the busy time of year, as you can imagine. The holiday season is really really busy for us, right? Black Friday, Cyber Week, tons and tons of orders. Our uh, document processing volume goes up significantly, and you know, stemming from that, of course, our systems scale to meet that demand because we're very resilient, and so it's something that we keep an eye on pretty closely, right? Because as your infrastructure grows, it's more things to protect.
Yeah, so that attack surface keeps growing as the time goes on. And speaking of time, what used to be maybe a certain period of a seasonality just keeps growing and stretching. Here we are getting into September now, and that buying season never really stops. And I imagine the crush of folks from home too, with COVID and the pandemic, must have been an impact as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, pre pandemic, pre COVID, there definitely was a seasonality to that growth, that ebb and flow of systems for sure, and definitely heavy on the holiday season. But yeah, after COVID and the pandemic hit, that shift, and really that underpins a lot of the omni-channel discussion, right? And omni-channel, if you're not familiar with that term, is something I think everybody knows. Like, you want to buy something, you might want to buy it online or in the store, right? Or have it shipped to your house, or pick it up. It really doesn't matter which channel, right, you want to buy something from, but it really changed the dynamic, and it changed that flow, and it kind of brought things up a few notches, and I don't know that they've necessarily come back down all the way.
Interesting. So that level kind of ratcheted, and it's still kind of up there. You're still firing on all the cylinders with all the threats.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the threats on top of the business dynamics, yes, they don't stop either.
Well, knowing that you're a security pro and likely you can't talk about too many details, what are some of the biggest security challenges that your team has been facing recently?
Yeah, well, you're right. I'm definitely a card carrying member of the tinfoil hat club. So we um, yeah, I mean, I think that one of the biggest ongoing challenges is just trying to keep pace uh, with that business growth and the change, right? And trying to defend the entire organization all the time from attackers. It's a bit of a truism, I guess you'd say, in our space, that the attackers only have to be successful once, and we have to be successful 100% of the time. So you hear words like vigilance, right, and diligence, and it really is the fact that we've got to be on our game all the time, and so we really need to make sure that we've got visibility and we've got the data to uh, detect and respond to those threats so that we can handle them before they become anything worse than they need to be.
Okay, so visibility, access to all the right data sources. But if you think back, do you recall how you first came across Sumo Logic?
Yeah, so um, Sumo Logic pre-existed my tenure at SPS Commerce. So I've been with the company for just past the 3-year mark this summer, but Sumo Logic has been in place for 8 years. Back in 2015, our companies joined and partnered in that journey quite a long time ago, and you know when I arrived on the scene and my team started building out our capabilities and infrastructure to protect the environment, and we started looking at what sources of data do we really need, right? Where does it exist? Where are we collecting it? Where are we not? Um, we found that a lot of it not all of it, but a very significant portion of it already existed because that journey started a long time before us. So application logs, for example, and many of the infrastructure logs were already placed in the core platform of Sumo Logic, and so it really made perfect sense to extend that platform into the security operations space, right? Um, because we don't want to um, we don't want to get too far afield and separate from what our infrastructure partners are doing. We want to be in the same systems. We want to see a lot of the same logs and a lot of the same metrics that they're gathering to monitor their environment so that when something does come up that we need to collaborate and partner on to resolve, we're in the same system and we're speaking the same language and we know how to gather the same answers.
Did you, to that point, to tack on, was it pretty easy to get up and running on the system? I know that we've got built-in training inside the platform, and there's access on our website with our tech pubs on help.sumologic.com. Was that able to help you and the security team kind of catch up to the rest of the org that was already using Sumo for the 4 years or 5 years prior?
Yeah, yeah, very absolutely, very, very quickly too. So I've managed and implemented many SIM solutions in the past, and having it be part of the same core platform, right? The CSE Cloud SIM Enterprise addition to the core of Sumo Logic, it really is all part of the same system, right? So the logs that were already there that existed, we could, for lack of a better term, forward over and make use of very, very quickly. Um, a lot of the um, mapping and inject, like the correlation logic and the rules and the configuration to really take advantage of all that was either pre-built into the application, right? So we could leverage your cloud to cloud collectors if we had something new, like CrowdStrike, for example, is our EDR provider, and we want to turn that on, or Tenable. So it was very easy to onboard some new sources that we didn't have before. But yeah, like you said, lots and lots of really fantastic documentation about how the overall platform works. So it allowed us um, to really get up to speed quickly, which is good because, like I noted, like the rest of the team had already gotten up to speed, like they were already there, and so we just needed to kind of play catch up for a little bit.
Nice. Yeah, and it's interesting you bring up the out-of-the-box rules content. I think we're now north of 700 rules that come ready to go, but you could clearly customize it to what you need. Well, I think the audience would really benefit from also hearing some more technical day-to-day details. So along that vein, could you describe how you and your team use Sumo Logic to secure all that critical infrastructure for your apps and for your services?
Yeah. Now I'm like I said, I have a tinfoil hat you can't see, so I'm not able to share a demo with you today. But yeah, I can certainly share a little bit more about and discuss kind of how we use the system. So like I said, we use Sumo for our like authoritative log source, right? So everything goes into Sumo, and um, it's really hard to comprehend really what everything is. Right? Like I have a saying on my team that all means all. And so when you think about this space and trying to monitor everything, it's everything from real low level on this. I mean, switches, routers, firewalls. We have operating system logs, Active Directory. We have DNS, all the way up into the cloud environment. Right? We have logs and telemetry coming in from AWS and Azure, and we have a whole diversity of systems and services that our delivery teams use in those environments. So we have, we've got EC2 pets that roam around. We've got ECS clusters. We've got EKS. We've got, like I said, the posturing information from AWS and Azure. And then layering on top of all that, we throw in our own tool sets. Some of them are vendors. I named a few already. Some of them are custom that we build. And They all come together. We use Sumo to then figure out, they all kind of land, so to speak, in CIP, the core product that you offer, and that allows us a really flexible way to review that information and then also make any sort of like you mentioned, customization, right? So if we had some logs where maybe we don't, for the security purposes, maybe we don't need 100% of those logs, maybe we only need 20% for security purposes, we can create custom rules to just carve off and kind of forward those logs over into CSE, or the Cloud SIEM enterprise. And so we gather all that information. We supplement it with some other sources of information too. So threat intelligence is a common term you'll hear in the security space, whether that's one of the information sharing communities like an ISAC, or it's a vendor that provides threat intel and reputation information. We consume those too. And CSE allows us to take that and kind of mash it up against the log data and the alerts that we see to provide more context to what we're doing, right? Is this IP that's probing us? Is this IP that we're investigating related to something that's known to be bad? Is it not? Right? All that is married together in the CSE platform. And then, like you said, those 700 plus rules that are curated by Sumo Logic, and we supplement with our own custom rules. That's what then kicks off the investigation workflow onto my team, right? So yeah, it's really been a great journey. We onboarded to CSE, like I said, my team started about 3 years ago, and we started with CSE just after that. So we've been in the platform for a few years, and it has been kind of a turnkey solution because we were already part of that whole ecosystem. It really was a very seamless sort of exercise to migrate our processes for investigation into that platform.
So before I wrap up, I wonder if you could share any of the savings maybe or benefits that you've experienced across your security ops since you've been working with Sumo now, at least on the security side.
Yeah, so Sumo and CSE, they've been really helpful on a process and visibility perspective for my team, but it's also really helpful from a time perspective, right? Because before we had all this, we had a lot of this information before, but it was all over the place, right? We had um, discrete systems with their own dashboards. I mean, even if you just take the cloud environments, for example, there's plenty of visibility in each of those. But when you're trying to comprehensively look across an organization and protect the entire footprint, you really, it's not as effective if you have to go look at 15, 20 different dashboards and try and manually kind of, weave them together into what you think might be going on. You need to send that information to one single place, and then from there you can really derive a lot more meaning. So that's been enormous. That's been a huge time saver, and as a result, right, cost and efficiency too.
So when it comes to so saving time is great. Imagine what has been the experience of the team members. Has it been able to maybe help with morale, or maybe retain some employees because maybe the job got more interesting now, or the workflow wasn't so tough juggling multiple
Yeah, or
dashboards.
manual, right?
Manual, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, not so manual. Yeah, for sure. Because if you're having to go check 12, 15 different dashboards just to investigate one particular thing, and you're doing that same investigation, multiple times a day or a week, depending on the case, it gets really tedious. Yeah, absolutely. And then extending from that too, once your investigation is done, you still might have some work that you need other teams to do. You might have to open up additional tickets to remediate or get other work done. And so this Underpinning the shift was also a shift from very manual sort of rote process and procedures surrounding these things to much more automated, um, much more automated process, and also one that integrates better, right? Because we can easily kick off Jira tickets, for example, from Sumo. We can fire off webhooks to other systems and services, and so we're able to integrate a lot better with our delivery teams and partners too, right? In the way that they expect. We're not just, those Neanderthal security guys coming along and manually opening up tickets into their backlog. And so, yeah, it's been real good.
Oh, that's great. Well, Nick, thank you for your time and for sharing with our security community a quick glimpse into how you're solving these complex cloud native challenges for your team and ultimately SPS Commerce.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been great to chat, for sure.